Hello everybody and welcome back to some more Warhammer Underworlds for the channel, and today the Wurmspat are getting a second go of it, this time going up against the Sepulchral Guard from the new 2-player starter set, although they did exist before that, hoping that they do a little bit better against the skeletons than they did against Tzeentch's worshippers. On the board you can see before you, which I think these are from Beastgrave. They're older ones. There are certain boards that are still perfectly usable that are hard to track down. There are some that for tournament play are not allowed for reasons only known to Games Workshop. At least if my friend is to be believed, that looked into it for me. But trying them out, and I thought it would be very fitting that the Nurgle team is on the kind of green tainted stuff. It looks perfect, honestly. So let's take a look at the specifics of both sides. So once again we have the Wurmspat being led by Fecula Flyblown, the old witch, right here in the middle with her two Blight Lords, I think they're called, bodyguards. On the left here we have Gulgok, the Butcher. Then on the other side we have Sepsimus, the Plague Sword. They reduce damage received if they roll at least a shield in their defense roll, even if it gets through. They inspire if 3 or more fighters, are enemy fighters, are dead and or have wound tokens, so it is fairly easy for them to inspire as long as they land hits. But they're not as sturdy as you would think, and some of their objectives are pretty hard to score. They do land hits pretty consistently though, because they all need hammers, so they've got that going for them. Minimum of 2 damage unless you go by magic spells, and if they inspire, one of them does 3 damage, so they're pretty strong. And the big old bunch of skeletons being led by the Sepulchral Warden himself at the back here with his cape. He is joined by the Champion with the Claymore here, the Prince of Dust with the Mace, the Harvester with the Scythe, and then the 3 little petitioners, the Inevitable Petitioner, the Zealous Petitioner, and the Rising Petitioner. They're there to die and be brought back to life. They want to be murdered so they can come back to life. It's what scores on their cards, gives them raise counters, and they inspire if they have raise counters as well. So we are set up and good to go. The Wurmspat will be going first in the first round, and every one of the potential starting slots is of course taken up by the Sepulchral Guard, because there's 7 of them, so they're all over the place. The 3 petitioners are down the front here, the Warden himself is here, then we have the Champion, the Harvester, and up there is the Prince of Dust. Gulgok the Butcher is taking the front line for Team Nurgle, the Wurmspat. Fecula is next to Sepsimus there. All that remains to be seen is which objective is where. They've got Objective 1, Objective 5, so both extremes, and Objective 4, so 2 and 3 are over here. There's 2, and this will be 3 right up here next to that lethal hex, which you can reverse on. I guess it's some kind of exploding boil. Lovely. Alright, let's get started. The game got started with Gulgok the Butcher initiating a charge onto Objective 2 in front of the front line of the Sepulchral Guard and attacking one of the petitioners. This is the Zealous Petitioner with the kind of yellow shield there. 3 dice needing hammers. He got a hammer and a crit. 1 defense die, which was a success for him, but it doesn't beat that crit, meaning 2 damage gets through and he is instantly battered down to dust for 1 glory, which is then being spent on solid bulk on the Butcher so that he can no longer be driven back, just to give him that. Also in the power phase though, to try and avoid something like that happening again, a Worthless Chaff is being played by the Sepulchral Guard. Friendly petitioners have no bounty, meaning that they don't give glory when they're killed. It persists until the end of the round, or until a friendly petitioner is taken out of action. So any of those other 2 die, it'll get removed, but they'll be worth no glory. Well, to the bottom left of your screen, the Sepulchral Guard Warden activated. He didn't move or anything, he did one of his special actions, which is choosing an out of action fighter and bringing them back, giving them a raise counter and placing them on a starting hex. So the petitioner that just died, the Zealous one, he's right back there, and not only that, he is now inspired. I'm not sure what changes on this inspired side. He doesn't get more health. Oh, he has 1 extra die on attacks, and I think potentially 1 extra movement as well. He moves 3 now. So he's right back where he was. The second activation for the Wurmspat was Sepsimus, who also did a charge. He's got range 2 on his spear, so the fact he only moves 3 wasn't a hindrance. He tried to stab the Prince of Dust, rolled 2 double supports looking for hammers, and whiffed as a result. However, in the power phase, Rampant Disease was played. It's a cycle card. Roll 1 attack die for each enemy fighter adjacent to 1 or more friendly fighters. On a crit, they would be dealt 1 damage, which would be perfect for trying to help inspire them. There was two adjacent to Golgad down there, and as you can see, neither of them were crits, so sadly no damage done there. No fast tracking them to being inspired this time. How nice of the skeletons to be fighting a warband that's almost as slow as they are. The inevitable petitioner activate, who was here. He walks a whole two, he did a move action to come over there and is doing nothing else. It was time for Fecula Flyblown to activate, also doing a charge action like her two bodyguards, starting there, moving forwards, which put the Prince of Dust right at the top of your screen, top left there, in range 3 of her magic. She rolls 2 magic dice for a wizard level, needing the swirls and doing 1 damage if it gets through. She got 1 swirl and he rolled a dodge when he needed a shield, right? Yes, he is on 1 shield, meaning that he took a whole 1 damage of his 3 health. It was the Prince of Dust who activated for the guard next, and you might notice he is further than 2 hexes away. He moved his 2 hexes, which was his move action, but then no end to our duty was played, and he made use of it. Choose a friendly fighter with 1 or more move tokens, because he did a move action, so he had 1. The chosen fighter makes a move action, so he actually got 4 hexes of movement there, which put him next objective 4. He is still within threat range of Sepsimus, but we'll see if he's actually the one to get attacked in a second. Nope, in order to work towards getting inspired for the whole team, instead, the Wurmspat's final activation of the first round was Fecula again. You can pick any of them because they all have charge tokens. Doing her 1 damage magic attack, she got a crit on the roll though against the Risen Petitioner. Wasn't looking to kill him because he wouldn't have been worth glory thanks to that worthless chaff card. Just wanted to damage him. So it got through. He has taken 1 damage of his itty bitty 2 health. So that means if they can land a wound or kill someone that hasn't already got a wound in the second round, they'll all instantly inspire. So that was probably worth it in the long run. And the final activation of the entire first round was the recently inspired Zealous Petitioner. He did a charge for objective card reasons to get round here and attacked Gulgok the Butcher in the back, rolling 3 successes, 2 of which were crits, and Gulgok didn't even roll a shield to bring the damage down by 1, which sucks. So he took the full damage, half his health, 2, but on the plus side, it did actually make an objective card score for them, even though it puts him in a precarious position. The Seeping Rot, once the camera decides to find it, there we go. Score this immediately when a friendly fighter holding an objective is the target of an attack action and he's not driven back. He can't be driven back because of the upgrade he got at the top of the turn. At the end of the first round, both sides are scoring some objective cards. The Wurmspat are scoring Spread His Blessings, so it's a good job Golgak survived because it relied on him as well and is having trouble coming into focus. There we go. Score this in the end phase if your warband holds 1 or more objectives in enemy territory. He does exactly that. No one else does. However, the Sepulchral Guard are scoring 2 objective cards. They're scoring Invigorated Dead, as it comes into focus here. Score this in the end phase if the number of surviving inspired friendly fighters is equal to or greater than the round number. It's round 1, and there's 1 inspired friendly fighter. So that scored for 1, but they got 2 for Eternal Legions. Score this in the end phase if 3 or more friendly fighters are each in no one's land or enemy's territory. 2 of the petitioners, well, 1's in Nurgle territory, 1's in no man's land, and the Prince of Dust up at the top right of the board is in Nurgle territory. So they're off the starting blocks, and that does mean as we go into the second round, it is 3 points apiece. So we're at the top of round 2. The Wurmspat have taken first activation again, but we've got some spending of glory to cover. The Wretchling upgrade is being given to Fecula. It means she gets a automatic lightning bolt if she wishes on her spells, which matters if she inspires. It also means she can never get damage dealt to her via backlash, i.e. if she rolls 2 crits, it doesn't hurt her for 1 damage. So that's been spent on her, but the Sepulchral Guard are spending all 3 of the glory they just gained there. They are putting Frightening Speed on the Harvester. It's apt because he's on it. So he's now +2 move, putting him at 4 on his uninspired side. Then the Sepulchral Warden himself is being given no vitals, so -1 damage to attacks that target him. He's just trying to keep himself alive. And also Ancient Commander, which gives him a 3rd possible action to do instead of doing anything himself. He can pick up to 3 friendly fighters and they all make a move action, which has its benefits and negatives obviously, but it just gives him more options. Not a great start to the second round. Fecula activated with the hopes of dealing just 1 damage to the Prince of Dust. Well, actually, he had damage on him already, so her goal was pointless. It was to try and get them to inspire by having a third person wounded, but he was already wounded. She would have had to have aimed at the petitioner. The Risen Petitioner has one, he doesn't because he got rest. So yeah, she would have had to aim at him. The defense roll and everything else would have been exactly the same. It didn't get through because she got 1 success, that's why there's just 1 die left sitting there. So even if she was attacking him, the shield still would have been a successful block. The 2 other swirls are there because during the power phase, after that failure, I guess she should face the person she was meant to attack. Blades of Putrefaction was cast successfully. So Gambit spell needs a swirl. If cast, friendly fighters range 1 and range 2 attack actions have +1 damage on crits, and it persists until the end of the round. So that'll just be kept to the side of the board there. And that means Sepsimus, even at range 2 now, can do extra damage on a crit, which can be a good thing and a bad thing if they want people to be... Well, I guess if they killed someone, that would have been fine as well. Well, either way, she really shouldn't have missed that spell. It's going to cost them. We're going to need a bit of a wide view for this one because the Warden activated, but he made use of that new action he got from his upgrade to pick 3 friendlies to do a move action. So the Petitioner down here, the inevitable one, I think that is, he moved onto objective 1. The Champion moved 2, so he's adjacent to Gulgak, and the Harvester moved 4 thanks to his boosted movement. So he's also adjacent to Gulgak and Fecula. Forcing them or encouraging them, sure, strike them down, whatever. Although the Petitioners are worth glory again now. Second activation for the Wurmspat was Fecula again, this time doing a charge action to where you can see her on the left, top left there, more than making up for her kind of whiff / failure in her first activation. She attacked with her, it's a rot something staff, 2 dice needing hammers. She got a hammer and a crit attacking the Harvester, who did get a success. He is supported, so that single support is a positive result, but not enough to beat a crit. So that would be 2 damage normally. However, thanks to Blades of Putrefaction, it actually does 3, so the Harvester is out of there for 1 glory. Didn't stop there though. You might notice there's 2 spell dice there, and they're both crits, and that would normally mean she's given 1 damage to herself. Thank goodness she took that upgrade when she did. That was while attempting to cast Rancid Visitations, which should come into focus any second now. You need 2 lightning bolts, crits obviously count. If cast, each enemy fighter adjacent to the caster is dealt 1 damage. So she did the last bit of damage the Rising Petitioner needed to also get taken out for 1 glory. And with 2 dead and 1 still on the table with 1 wound, that is the Inspire condition met, so the Wurmspat are now all inspired. Well, the Warden can't be having that, so the second activation for the Guard was the Warden, who opted to bring back the Harvester on a starting hex up there, which in turn, with the raise counter given to him, means the Harvester inspires, and because there's 2 inspired Scaly Men on the table, because the Zealous Petitioner, that one, is also inspired, means that the Warden himself inspires, and that also means that they keep coming. Scores for 1. Score this immediately after you give a friendly fighter a raise counter, and 1 or more other friendly fighters have 1 or more raise counters. So that is 1 more glory to them, meaning that it's now 4 to them and 5 to the Wurmspat. Sepsimus attempted to finish off the Prince of Dust, rolling 1 success on his range 2 dice for 3 damage, or 4 if he gets a crit, which is ridiculous. But the Prince of Dust is hanging in there. They're able to roll crits and shields for their defense rolls, trumping his 1 success and taking no damage. Oh, forgot to mention, the glory that was just earned by the Sepulchral Guard was spent on a familiar face. The bounty for this fighter is spent glory, and it is being put on the inspired Zealous Petitioner. Second last activation for the Guard was the Harvester, who charged after Gulgok, trying to take him out with a charge action. 3 dice, needing swords. He rolled 2 hammers. The double success is actually, or double support, sorry, is a success because he has 2 skeletons adjacent to his target. The defense roll for Gulgak was 2 single supports. Thankfully for him, because it's the Harvester attacking, Fecula is supporting him, so they both count as supports, and he took no damage. And not a great way to see off round 2. Sepsimus once again tried to finish off the Prince of Dust, because he would do 2 damage. 3 damage actually, which would be enough to take him from full to dead. But he rolled 2 single supports, which do nothing, so that was 2 out of 4 activations that round, kind of wasted for the Wurmspat. No good. Well, it's not just the Wurmspat whiffing. The final activation for the Sepulchral Guard this round was the Zealous Petitioner, supported by 2 fighters, hoping to smack Gulgok With hindsight, it wasn't even worth doing because he only does 1 damage and Gogak has 2 left. Doesn't matter though, he rolled 2 hammers and as a result did nothing, taking us to the end of the round. So rather embarrassingly, at the end of the second round, neither side is scoring any additional objective cards. Blades of Putrefaction goes away rather, of course. But nope, they're not scoring anything else. So as we go into the third and final round, the Wurmspat have 5 and the Sepulchral Guard have 4 still. So the top of round 3, the final round, and the Sepulchral Guard have taken first activation, so they'll be doing something first, but there's a couple of glory being spent for the Wurmspat, so let's go over that now. Virulent Blade is being played. It can get played on Gogak or Sepsimus. It's being played on the latter. Can reroll 1 attack die in his range 1 or range 2 attack actions. Makes him that bit more effective at hopefully killing the Prince of Dust this round, I guess. And then the hilarious quote plus picture, Putrid Vomit, is being played on Gogok. I'm not going to try and recreate that, it's just very funny. It gives him a range 3 1 damage attack, just because it seems like it would be useful potentially. So although the Warden was the one to activate, he once again commanded his skeletons to move, up to 3 of them. So the Petitioner over here has moved from down here, the Harvester moved his 4 all the way over here, and the Prince of Dust moved 1 onto Objective 4, giving them all move counters as well. For the Wurmspat, Fecula did a charge action to get the turn started, moving on to Objective 3 there, and doing her spell cast, needing lightning bolts on her inspired side, so 2 successes. The champion actually needs dodges, so he got hit for 1 damage. That swirl is there though because he was then given a lovely gift of contagion, which needs that symbol. If cast, choose 1 enemy fighter within 3 of the caster. He is within 3 of her. -1 damage to a minimum of 1 from the chosen fighter's attack actions until the spell persists until the end of the round, or until the chosen fighter is dead. Champion normally does 2 damage, so that forces him down to 1, just to help keep Gogak alive. Oh, at the end of that activation though, Undying Watchmen score for the Sepulchral Guard for 2 glory. After an opponent's activation step, you score this if you hold 2 or more objectives and at least 1 of those is in enemy territory. They currently hold 2 in enemy territory, so that is 2 glory to them, putting them ahead by 1. Well, there's certainly some shenanigans going on over here. The Warden activated as the second activation for the Guard, once again making use of that action to make them move. The Harvester did another move action, so he's got 2 move tokens, and so did this Petitioner here, so he has 2 move tokens as well. Didn't opt to do the third one, it's up to 3, you don't have to do 3. Second activation for the Wurmspat was Gogak trying to take out the champion. Got a crit, but unfortunately for him, the champion also got a crit and took no damage from that. He was looking for hammers, so the swords and the single support failures. That activity actually triggered another trap card, kind of. Land of the Dead scores for 1. Score this immediately after an opponent's activation step if your warband holds 2 or more objectives and the total of these is 6 or more. They currently add up to 10 because they have 5, 4 and 1 all in enemy territory. Third activation for the Sepulchral Guard was once again the Warden, except this time he actually did something himself. He is capable of doing it. He did a charge, he moves 3, he's slightly faster on his inspired side. To here, he's got range 2 on his spear for 2 damage, well, 3 damage, sorry, but rolling 2 dice needing hammers. He got a single, actually no, that's 2 successes. I forgot about that, because he is supported. So Gogak did not in fact block enough, because that's 2 successes. So he did take damage, that's 3 damage, but because he rolled a shield it comes down to 2 damage, but that's still enough to take him out. That was much worse than I thought it was. So he is out of there for 1 glory, and yeah, that sucks. Oh, it's all falling apart right at the end here for the Wurmspat. With Gogok dying there, it actually robbed them of a 3 glory objective card in the end phase. Sepsimus activated, once again tried to kill the Prince of Dust. He rolled 2 double supports, which were obviously fails. He has that upgrade for a reroll. He rerolled into swords, he was looking for hammers. No damage. The final activation of the Sepulchral Guard was to discard an objective card and draw another one, and hilariously, they would have scored it in the previous turn had they had it in hand, because it was for their leader taking someone out of combat. But as it turns out, didn't get anything. Over to the Wurmspat. I'm not sure, it's probably just going to be Sepsimus trying to kill that guy again. Let's see. He did it right at the end of the game after 4 attempts, I think. At least 4. He did a success and a crit, no successes for the Prince of Dust. The Prince of Dust gets splatted for 1 whole glory. That was not worth it. Let's go to the final end phase and see what's scored. So at the end of the game, as we tally up points, what Septimus did there actually was worthwhile in another way, because had he not killed the Prince of Dust there, they would have scored a 3-pointer called Retake What Is Ours, but they can't do that now because he died. They are, however, scoring lay claim to it all, which is score in the end phase if your warband holds more objectives than each other warband. They hold 2 and the Wurmspat hold 1. The Wurmspat are scoring though, they're scoring Rockbringers, which is for casting 2 successful spells because they did Gift of Contagion and the spell attack action from Ficula. So they scored 1 there. Thanks to Gogok going down, that denied them 3, as I mentioned, and not drawing a cycle card denied them another 1. So that does take us to the end of the game. If we just come over here a little bit, see the whole board. The final score for the Wurmspat, though, rather amusingly, is 7. Nurgle's number. They scored 7, but thanks to just laying claim to all those objectives and getting the right objective cards at the right time, the Sepulchral Guard scored 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Not super far ahead. There's only 2 points in it between a loss and a draw, but that last minute turn of just drawing all those cards for scoring if you hold a certain number of objectives or objectives worth something, the stars aligned and worked out in their favour, denying the Wurmspat of a victory at the last minute again. Either way though, I sincerely hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you're still enjoying the Warhammer Underworld content. There will be more to come in the future. Thanks for watching this though, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.